events that led us here, as I take the opportunity to speak to the matters so raised. My principal reflections today are to ensure that by the end of these proceedings, the truth would have taken center stage, and in the process, any unfounded doubts about my motives, my competence, and my character would have been dispelled. Before I proceed with my detailed responses, I'd like to make a personal comment to the Ghanaian people. Since the Akufo-Addo government came into office in 2017, everything we have sought to do was aimed at making the lives of the people better. We have been focused on this vision to improve lives, and in the first 4 years, our efforts were leading to a realization of the vision. Today, I acknowledge our economy is facing difficulties, and the people of Ghana are enduring hardships. As a person President Akufo-Addo has put in charge of this economy, I feel the pain personally, professionally, and in my soul. I see and feel the terrible impact of rising prices of goods and services on the lives and livelihoods of ordinary Ghanaians. I feel the stress of running a business, but it is the strength and perseverance of the Ghanaian people that inspire me and my colleagues in government every morning. And it's to press on. That is what gives me the strength to press on, to find solutions and relief for Ghanaians to the myriad of problems that our country and the rest of the world are facing, especially since March 2020. Co-chairs, let me use this opportunity to say to the Ghanaian people what I believe, with courage, every finance minister around the world may wish to say to their people now. I am truly sorry. When we set out so purposefully between 2017 and the early parts of 2020, we never imagined that a global pandemic such as COVID, with its prolonged economic impact, would inflict such pain and suffering upon the Ghanaian people. The shock to our system has been hard, and the impact on our livelihoods severe. But we have not been resting on our oars. We continue to work to keep the lights on, to avoid the queues at our filling stations as in other countries. Our classrooms are full, our hospitals and dispensaries mostly stocked with medicines. We continue to pay salaries, and our roads continue to be built and fixed. Now let me get to the details. On the issue relating to despicable conflict of interests, ensuring that I directly benefit from Ghana's economic woes.
No, Mr. Minister, we just ruled that, no.
It's at liberty to...
No, wait a minute. We made a rule that you are not to deal with the item number 1, and you are not to deal with the item number 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have indeed subsequently received a letter dated 16th November 2022 stating that this committee has upheld that said objection.
Yes, Honorable Minister, in contradistinction to what my Honorable Co-Chair has said, in terms of Article 82(4) of the Constitution, the Minister would have been entitled to be heard in his defense during the debate. And we have read, I'm being consistent, Honorable Katie. Yeah, so what I'm saying is that it is.
What my colleagues seem to be saying is that even though the committee is rude, if you, the minister of your own volition, want to discuss it, then maybe go ahead. But let's think about it. Is that the ruling? Is that the sense of the committee?
Yeah. Council. Yeah. But
Honorable co-chairs, we appreciate your position on this matter, except that if he's being invited to speak to those issues that have been struck out, are you going to ask him questions because address them?
Yes. President. So the natural course of events, if he comments on them, he testifies on them, he opens himself up to questions by the members of the committee. So it's up to you, if your client wants to go on that trajectory, we are fine. But if he doesn't...
So let's explain a little bit further. We didn't take the decision lightly. We looked at the constitutional imperatives. We looked at the decision of Shiraj. That matter went as far as to the Supreme Court. We looked at that, and we thought that in criminal jurisprudence, it will be double jeopardy asking him to revisit this matter. In civil jurisprudence, it will be abuse of the process to ask him to be res judicata. We've gone through all those matters. But that is the sense of the committee. If your client believes that, in spite of the ruling, he wants to still have the committee on some matters we may not have been aware of, it's entirely entitled to. But of course, as we indicated, if he does, then of course our colleagues would want to ask him. That is not to say that he has anything he's hiding. That's not the point.
Honorable co-chairs, thank you very much. We have advised that in as much as those grounds have been struck off the record, we will not speak to them, respectfully.
We can proceed to the next ground, which is the unconstitutional withdrawals from in respect of the Cathedral.
Thank you very much, co-chairs. Thank you for the clarification. The next is the grounds of the proponents claiming that there has been unconstitutional withdrawals from the Consolidated Fund in blatant contravention of Article 178 of the 1992 Constitution, supposedly for the construction of the President's Cathedral. Mr. Co-Chair, that took me for a loop since I did not know what the President's Cathedral was. Honorable Co-Chairs, let me first submit that I'm uncomfortable about the formulation of this ground. It presupposes that Parliament is assuming the jurisdiction to enforce and or interpret a provision of the Constitution against the combined effect of Articles 2(1) and 131, which grants the sole and exclusive power to the Supreme Court. Nonetheless, I say with both humility and confidence that I have not breached the Constitution in making payments to support the construction of the National Cathedral of Ghana.
Mr. Minister, Mr. Co-Chairman, clarify that I don't quite comprehend the point you make. The committee seems to be assuming what constitutional, assuming constitutional position that you believe we're entitled to. There is an allegation that some monies have been withdrawn from the Constitution, from the Consolidated Fund. The point made by the proponents is that they believe that those monies were withdrawn unconstitutionally. We are not here to interpret any constitution, just simply asking you to respond to that allegation. Whether it is true or not, we have no clue. So if you challenge the constitutionality of it, let's hear your grounds in respect of that.
Mr. Co-Chair, let me then proceed to really talk about exactly what you have.
You may well do.
Honorable Co-Chairs, 3 days ago, when the proponents were here, they alleged I had made payments from the contingency fund to support the National Cathedral. I want to state that this is just not true. Let me be categorical. I have taken no money from the contingency fund to make payments for the National Cathedral. It appears the proponents have confused the contingency fund passed by Parliament. In preparing the annual budgets, the practice is that provision is made for indicative expenditures that have not been fully costed at the time of the budget presentation. Provisions are made in the contingency vote to cater for such expenditures. For example, in 2014, there was no specific allocation in the 2014 budget for Ghana's participation in the FIFA World Cup in Brazil. The cabinet of President John Mahama in March 2014 at the time approved then some $9.622 million for that tournament, including that amount which was flown to Brazil in a private jet for the players. A more current example is Ghana's participation in Qatar. The Black Stars qualified for the 2022 FIFA World Cup way after the 2022 budget presented on 16 November 2021 was approved by Parliament. No specific amount was thus budgeted for it, but through the contingency vote, we have been able to provide funds legitimately for the team to participate in the competition. Expenditures in respect of the National Cathedral were made from the contingency vote under the other government obligations vote, as has been the practice before my tenure. I have copies of several payments from the contingency vote dating back to 2015 to share. Honorable Co-Chairs, as Finance Minister, I'm fully aware of the approval procedures for use of the contingency fund and have not breached its requirements. The National Cathedral is 100% owned by the state and is not the President's Cathedral as described by the proponents. Indeed, the Attorney General issued an opinion on 6 January 2022 that the National Cathedral is a state-owned company limited by guarantee under the Ghana Museums and Monuments Board. Honorable Co-Chairs, the policy direction and updates on the National Cathedral have been publicly presented over the years through the National Budget Statement and Economic Policy presented to Parliament. In paragraph 158 of my budget speech on the 2019 Budget Statement Economic Policy, I announced on the floor of Parliament government's vision for the National Cathedral, as well as a commitment to facilitate the construction by providing the land, the Secretariat, and seed money. This subject was part of the policy approval of the budget after the extensive debate. Subsequently, regular updates on the progress of the construction of the National Cathedral have been provided to Parliament and the nation. These include 2020 Budget Statement Policy 385, which announced the establishment of the Board of Trustees and Secretariat for the Cathedrals. Mid-year review of the 2020 Budget Statement, paragraph 279, which provided an update on the groundbreaking ceremony held on 5th March 2020 to mark the formal commencement of the construction phase of the project. 2021 Budget Statement Economic Policy, paragraphs 1132 and 1134, which informed the House of the letter of intent signed on 25th November 2020 between the National Cathedral of Ghana trustees and Ribad JV, led by Rizani, Babisoti and Sons and Desimoni, and also the appointment of Apostle Professor Opoku Nyina as new chairman of the Board of Trustees on 8 February 2021. The mid-year review of the 2021 Budget Statement, paragraphs 354 and 355, which announced the expansion of the Cathedral project to include a Bible Museum of Africa, and Biblical Gardens, as well as the establishment of the 100 cedi a month Ketewa Beer and Swag Club, in line with the original plan to encourage as many donors as possible to contribute towards the establishment of this national monument. In conclusion, Co-Chairs, all the payments made for the National Cathedral were lawfully done and from the contingency vote under the other government obligations vote and not from the contingency fund as alleged by the proponents.
Hold it, Mr. Minister. Hold it a minute. Let's come. Or if you become privy to what we discussed. We're wondering whether at this stage we should ask you questions after you finish with the first allegation or let you finish with the lot. I think the consensus is that finish with your presentation and then we'll ask questions if we do have any.
Thank you very much, and I'll also submit the Attorney General's opinion on that. Thank you very much. I will go through all the grounds and then we can focus on the questions.
So, Honorable Minister, you have to go to ground 4. Ground 4. Deliberate and dishonest misreporting of economic data to Parliament.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Co-Chair. Let me now focus on the grounds claiming deliberate and dishonest misreporting of economic data to Parliament. The issue of deliberate misreporting of economic data to Parliament is not just unfortunate, but simply untrue. I, and for that matter, the Ministry of Finance, have never misreported data to Parliament, as has been alleged. On Tuesday, 13th November 2022, the proponents clarified that their concerns relating to the reporting of fiscal data. In their submission, they alleged that different sets of data were presented to the IMF and the people of Ghana. That is untrue. The 2019 Article 4, which they cited, actually clearly demonstrates that the computing and reporting of the deficit is consistent between the government and the IMF, as shown on the table labeled Ghana Selected Economic and Financial Indicators, 2017 to 2024, on page 4 of the IMF Article 4 and Appendix 3A of the 2019 budget. More importantly, we were under a fund program during that period and could not have been able to exit the program if there were inaccuracies of the data we reported and the methodology used for computing the deficit. In actual fact, in the most recent IMF Article 4 report from 2021, one sees clearly demonstrated that the methodology utilized in computing the deficit is and has been consistent, as shown in the tables labeled Ghana Selected Economic Financial Indicators 2019 to 22 on page 3 of the press release numbered PR 21/221. According to Honorable Atta Forson, Mr. Chairman, paragraph 16, page 11, I'm quoting of the staff report, Article 4 says, fiscal rules under Ghana. Public Financial Management Act fiscal rules could be strengthened, box 1. It goes on to say that about 2.8 percentage point of GDP in financial energy sector payments were recorded below the line in the year 2019 budget because the government considers the financial sector cost as a one-off and energy cost as a debt amortization. Best international practices could include these transactions above the line as they reflect either direct government obligation or government transactions transfers to state-owned enterprises. Because of the exceptional nature of the expenditure, chairs, financial sector cleanup and energy sector IPP payments, we agreed with the fund that it could be treated below the line in the table earlier. Co-chairs, it is also alleged that I have breached the second fiscal rule under the Fiscal Responsibility Act 2018, Act 982, namely the primary balance in 2018 and 2019. Firstly, I maintain the legal position that Act 982 was not passed to take a retrospective effect. It is equally instructive to note that the fiscal and primary balance targets presented to Parliament for those 2 years did not have any estimate on the FinCEN cleanup cost above the line. Consequently, the primary balance target that we were targeting were actually surpluses of 1.6% of GDP in the main budget for 2018 and 1.1% in 2019. This, per our definition, included the FinSA cleanup costs that, if applicable, could not be used to breach the law. To reiterate, the agreed style of reporting with the IMF was to show both a deficit, including FinSA cleanup, and one excluding it. I wish to state that the allegation of deliberate misreporting of economic data to Parliament is completely not true. Since I took office in 2017, I have served the country with integrity and honesty. Under my leadership at the Ministry of Finance, there have been significant improvements in the accurate reporting of public finances. Today, under President Nana Akufo-Addo, Ghanaians are enjoying greater accountability and transparency in the management of the public purse than any other period under the Fourth Republic. Since 2017, government has complied with the reporting provisions in the Public Financial Management Act 2016, Act 921, including budget implementation report, fiscal reports, public debt reports, revenue management reports, ESLA reports, etc. The proponents have raised the issue of treatment of energy sector IPP payments and financial sector cleanup payments in the fiscal tables. The Ministry of Finance has explained its position on the treatment of these two items to the relevant committees of Parliament during their scrutiny of the annual budget from 2018 to 2021. The Ministry of Finance actually issued a press release on the subject on 10th May 2020, which we had hoped should have put this matter to rest. The Ministry included the energy sector IPP payments in the amortization line in the fiscal framework during the 2018 to 2081 period. Financial sector cleanup costs were included in the fiscal framework annually for the period 2018 to 2021 to reflect the issuances of bonds to cover the non-cash costs. Contrary to the position of others that the Ministry of Finance did not reflect the FinSec payments and the energy sector IPP payments in the fiscal framework, I want to emphasize with the budget document as evidence that these payments were reflected in the fiscal framework. Energy sector IPP payments were treated as amortization, and the non-cash financial sector cleanup payments were reflected in the memo item. Refer to Appendix 2A of the fiscal tables in the relevant annual budget. The MOF reflected the FinSec cleanup payments in the memo item called Fiscal Deficit for the following reasons. They are extraordinary one-time payment, possible double counting, a method that the proponent is or ought to have been very familiar with from his years as Deputy Minister for Finance. Likewise, the energy sector IPP payments were reflected in the fiscal framework as part of the amortization line under the financing part of the fiscal table for the following reason. They are debts of SOEs that have been assumed by government and are largely contingent liabilities that have crystallized for payments. And two, they are extraordinary one-off payments which need not be mixed up with also traditional expenditure items. However, the MOF agreed with the Finance Committee of Parliament in 2021 that going forward from 2022 onwards, both the energy IPP payments and the FinSec payments will be treated above the line in the fiscal framework for the following reasons. One, the FinSec bailout exercise is largely completed and therefore ceases to be an extraordinary budget item. And two, IPP payments are expected to be made over the medium term, given that they become explicit contingent liabilities. Appropriately budgeting for them above the line ensures the resources are duly allocated for their settlement. The 2022 budget therefore reflects this decision. Neither the Ministry nor I have deliberately or dishonestly reported economic data to Parliament. This is buttressed by the submissions made in May 2020 by the IMF Country Director, Dr. Albert Mama, and I quote, Our number includes these two elements, financial sector payments and energy sector payments. That's the IMF. And we know why the Governor of Bank of Ghana made the decision not to have these two elements in the fiscal deficits. Co-chairman, there's also a claim, going on to the next question, grounds.
It's ground number 5.
That incompetence and all those things?
No, the fiscal recklessness leading to the crash of the Ghana cedi. Yes, that is it. And
speak through the microphone. Minister, kindly proceed.
Thank you very much. I'll tender a document in on the government finance statistics for your records.
Honorable Minister, what document is that and who published it?
This is a document from the Ministry of Finance on Ghana finance, the government's finance statistics.
Okay. Was it published, laid in Parliament, published?
No, it's an in-house memo.
Oh, an in-house memo. Who prepared it? No, it's important. If it is a public document.
It's not a public document.
Right, but
if it's not.
Well, of course, I mean, if it forms part of your statement, that is fine. So in terms of the probative value, we'll see what value we can place on it.
I think it will be helpful.
Because if
part
it is
of my statement.
Very well.
So
very well.
I'll tender it in when I'm tendering.
Very well. Thank you. So you can attach it to your statement.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Co-chairs, there's also a claim on fiscal recklessness leading to the crash of the Ghana cedi, which is currently the worst performing currency in the world. I'll respond as follows. Honorable co-chairs, the grounds of recklessness presupposes that I have not been guided by the laid down regulations. I want to state that I have not been reckless in the management of the fiscal operations of government. Rather, our strenuous efforts to protect the public purse is what has helped this government to have achieved much, much more than any government ever over a similar period in virtually all sectors, including education, health, social welfare, policing, security in general, roads, railways, agriculture, tourism, digitization, and funding for anti-corruption institutions. Honorable co-chairs, I've come to Parliament House 10 times, 11 times since this government in the last 6 years to present the annual and mid-year budgets. On all occasions, I have discussed all proposed fiscal operations of government, revenue, expenditure, and financing. On all these occasions, I receive approval as Parliament subsequently passed appropriation bills for all those budgets. Every key expenditure made has been supported by this House. Indeed, we also saw that there are consequences when the House for months refused to pass a major revenue generation item introduced by this government to support the fiscal stability of the economy. Sadly, the minority leader, when this government was compelled to approach the fund this year, triumphantly took credit for frustrating government's efforts to meet its half-year revenue targets. He told the parliamentary press call last June that thanks to the opposition, government has already lost half-year revenue that can only be attributed to the purpose and tenacity of the minority group in Parliament, unquote. The consequences of this intentional stance have been dire. It precipitated a lack of confidence in the international market and closed access to Ghana's traditional Eurobond issuance. Honorable co-chairs, it is worthwhile to note that indeed the proponents offered only one item as not having been approved by Parliament for payment, the National Cathedral of Ghana, and I have shown that to be untrue. I hope we can take it that by extension of their proposition, they accept that all other expenditures have been approved by Parliament. We must all boldly share the positive achievements regularly reported by the Bank of Ghana in its quarterly fiscal development reports for the years 2017 to 2021. Honorable Co-Chairs, it cannot be sustained that have been reckless in supporting the implementation of the decisions of Parliament. Honorable Co-Chairs, with the approval of funds by Parliament, in the last 6 years, we have undertaken major transformative investments to improve the quality of life of Ghanaians. We have mobilized and invested in excess of 28.3 billion as of September 2022 to implement the transformative flagship programs that improve social mobility and the quality of life of Ghanaians. Most of these did not exist prior to 2017. This includes supporting 1,765,977 students and a free SHS TVET to promote human capital development and social mobility. Enrolling 15,656,160 Ghanaians aged 15 years and above on the National Identification Program by September 2021 to enhance security and economic efficiency. Support about 100,000 young graduates to enter the job market. Providing needed infrastructure to support decentralization and local governance to expand access to public services under the Regional Reorganization Program. Promoting the development of railway network to advance national and regional connectivity. Supporting the ongoing construction of fishing harbors to service key coastal communities including Axim, Diskop, Moree, Mumford, Winneba, Senya Breku, Gomoa, Fete, Teshi, and Jamestown. Increasing school feeding beneficiaries from 1,677,322 in 2016 to 3,300,000 pupils in 2021. Increasing LEAP beneficiaries from 195,860 households in 2017 to 344,023 in 2021 to improve the livelihoods for the underprivileged in our society. Increasing food production and security through planting for food and jobs has led to a 71% increase in the national production of maize and 34% in paddy rice. We have invested significantly in retooling security sector to maintain territorial integrity and improve internal security. CCTVs, motorbikes, vehicles, forward operating bases, recruitment of security personnel, etc. We have recruited over 200,000 Ghanaians into crucial services such as education, health, security, and local government. Established a tree crop development authority with a focus on mango, cashew, rubber, oil palm, shea, and coconut in order to diversify economy and provide raw materials for industrialization. This and many more we have done. Honorable Co-Chairs, the idea that the depreciation of the cedi is a result of fiscal recklessness is not supported by the available facts. The Ghana cedi consistently performed very well throughout my tenure as Finance Minister up to March 2022. The records show that between 2012 and 2016, the cedi depreciated by an average of 17%, whilst between 2017 and 2021, the average rate of depreciation was 7%. The major contributors to the currency problem are not necessarily the fiscal factors. Honorable Co-Chairs, unlike July 2014, when the cedi was last rated as the worst performing currency, the 2022 depreciation is largely attributed to extraordinary global factors, including the strengthening of the US dollar, even against the major international currencies like the UK pound, the yen, and the euro. And speculation due to economic uncertainties. For example, in this year, 2022, the euro is worth less than the dollar for the first time in 20 years. As stipulated in Article 183 of the Constitution, Section 2A, the Bank of Ghana shall promote and maintain the stability of the currency of Ghana and direct and regulate the currency system in the interest of the economic progress of Ghana. As such, the Bank of Ghana, which manages our reserves, is leading the interventions to contain the depreciation of the cedi. Government, on its part, is undertaking real sector interventions through initiatives such as 1D1F and the Ghana Cares program to accelerate the import substitution and export-led economy, such that products such as poultry and rice would be produced here to reduce foreign exchange pressures from the imports of these products. We intend to announce additional measures to promote the consumption of local produce. Furthermore, the implementation of the AFCFTA positions Ghana as a continental trade hub, and we shall take advantage and boost the export orientation of our industries. The Ministry of Finance has also arranged significant financing, including the $750 million from Afri-Exim Bank to support the 2022 budget and boost our foreign exchange reserves. This forex inflow has improved the supply of foreign currency and boosted the stability of the local currency. We continue to explore avenues to secure additional financing to boost the country's reserve position. Co-chairs, on the issue of alarming incompetence and frightening ineptitude resulting in the collapse of the Ghanaian economy and an excruciating cost of living crisis. That is 6. I state as follows. These are very, very strong languages. And it is unfortunate, as also was the one on recklessness. Honorable co-chairs, the choice of words for these is worrying, especially as it relates to the functioning of the whole national economy and is resulting in the censure of the Minister for Finance. The truth is, considerable progress has been made under my tenure as Minister for Finance since 2017. Honorable co-chairs, we have competently managed the economy since 2017. Indeed, to appreciate where we are now, we need to look back at where we came from. At the close of 2016, an assessment of the economy revealed limited fiscal space, deficit of 6.5%, a distressed financial sector, non-performing loans ratio about 17.3%, an asset quality review document that had not been triggered, a derailed IMF ECF program, and reduced economic output of negative 3.4%. Inflation was 15.4% at the end of 2016, and monetary policy rate was 25.5% at the end of December 2016. Limited capital expenditure to MDAs, doomsday which had decimated local industry and strongly impeded national productivity. Honorable co-chairs, it is important to note that through our leadership and commitment to turn around the economy from its state in 2016, we made great strides and remarkable progress in the years before the pandemic, and the records attest to this. The headline facts were, we doubled economic growth in our first 3 years, and Ghana's growth in 2019 was touted as one of the highest globally. Inflation came down significantly from 15.4% to 7.9% at the end of 2019 and remained in single digits till the pandemic hit in March 2020. The fiscal deficit, which was about 6.5%, was brought down to under 5% by the end of 2019. Exchange rate depreciation reduced significantly to under 5% in 2017 and averaging 8.7% between 2017 and 2019. We reduced interest rates in line with declining inflation expectations. Monetary policy rate declined from 25.5% at the end of December 2016 to 16% at the end of 2019, while the average rate declined from 31.7% to 23.7%. The government directly spent $25 billion to save the banking and SDI sector, protecting the near collapse of the financial sector, saving close to 5,400 direct jobs, 12,000 indirect jobs, and making sure that 4.6 million depositors were protected. And government also implemented comprehensive reforms across the energy sector and kept the lights on to date. On the back of good economic management, Ghana successfully completed and exited the IMF ECA program that we inherited in April 2019. To ensure irreversibility of the macroeconomic gains, government introduced a number of measures, including passage of the Fiscal Responsibility Act 2018, Act 982, to cap the fiscal deficit at 5% of GDP and ensure maintenance of positive primary balance. Passage of the Public Financial Management Regulations 2019, LI 2378, to strengthen regulation of the public financial management system. Establishment of 2 social partnership programs with labor and faith-based organizations. Clearly, there was strong momentum and optimism towards Ghana Beyond Aid at the end of 2019. However, with the onset of the pandemic, the gains from over 3 years of fiscal rectitude were reversed as a result of efforts to ensure lives and livelihoods were protected. Ultimately, these considerations inform the raft of revenue and expenditure measures outlined in the 2022 budget statement. We laid out the 2022 budget to achieve fiscal consolidation anchored on debt sustainability. It's important at this point to also highlight that the key component of the national debt stock related to 3 exceptional expenditure items that are neither external nor a creation of this government. Energy sector excess capacity payments, 17 billion, which relates to a legacy of take-or-pay contracts that saddle the country's economy with annual payments in excess capacity charges of close to $1 billion. Direct COVID-19 expenditure amounted to Ghana cedis 12 billion. The banking sector cleanup of 25 billion. These 3 items alone contribute to about 23% of our annual debt servicing costs. These 3 items were not created from the recklessness of our party. The long doom so that Ghanaians endured during the NDC administration between 2012 and 2016 was more to do with NDC's government ability to pay for power. So, co-chairs, I find it curious that Honorable Atta would choose to cite energy bills as an example of the recklessness that the minority charges me with and seek my removal by censure. Honorable co-chairs, in actual fact, we have been able to renegotiate some of these power purchase agreements, and the new agreements, when implemented with the priority IPPs, when finalized, will estimated save us $4 billion a year over the next 5 years. We have also used a significant part of the borrowing to undertake key transformative investments, such as the fixing construction of over 11,500 kilometers of new roads between 2017 and 2021. The construction of 12 major interchanges since 2017, as compared to 5 interchanges in the previous 8 years, previous to 2016. Construction of the Eastern Regional and Central Gonja hospitals, commencement work on 87 of the Agenda 1111 district hospitals projects, funding ongoing airport projects, including the Kumasi International Airport, promoting the establishment of the Development Bank of Ghana to provide competitive long-term financing for Ghanaian enterprises. Indeed, the e-levy was born out of this heightened need to mobilize resources sufficient for managing the preeminent challenges of our time: fiscal consolidation, debt sustainability, and regain the passage, impacted really the confidence of the international market, and largely contributed to the ensuing downgrade in Ghana's sovereign credit rating in January 2022, resulted in not being able, therefore, to issue its Eurobonds as it traditionally does in the first quarter. So we lost confidence in the international investors. For this reason, access to international capital market funds was no longer available, which resulted in a severe balance of payment problem that needs to be addressed, and we are addressing. The government thus resorted to the IMF as a lender of last resort in July to not only address the immediate and active balance of payment need, but also to protect all the macro and social policy gains made in the last 5 years. Undoubtedly, the last few months have seen considerable economic uncertainty and challenges. These have been characterized by high inflation, rapid depreciation of the cedi. Indeed, the economic challenges we are facing require deliberate, well-thought-out strategic steps, as well as the support of all of the Ghanaian people. The above notwithstanding, there are still some bright spots. Overall, our growth outturn of 3.4% and 4.8% in Q1 and Q2 2022 respectively, coupled with modest improvement in our fiscal position, suggests our economy is gradually on the upswing despite the numerous shocks we have faced over the past 2 years. This progress gives us a solid foundation to confront the challenges in front of us. Undoubtedly, risks remain that we are highly attuned to. However, the Ministry of Finance is committed to working along to ensure we can reposition our economy back on a path of growth and prosperity. Mr. Co-Chairs, there's a claim of gross mismanagement of the Ghanaian economy, which has occasioned untold and unprecedented hardship. Honorable Co-Chairs, the current economic challenges we are experiencing in Ghana is not the outcome of mismanagement, but we acknowledge the hardships our people are going through in these very difficult times. This assessment is wholly shared by objective observers. In the recent words of the Managing Director of the IMF, Kristalina Georgieva, and I quote, "To the people of Ghana, like everybody else on this planet, you have been hurt by exogenous shocks, first the pandemic, then Russia's war in Ukraine, and what we need to realize is not because of bad policies in the country, but because of this combination of shocks," unquote. When we discuss the domestic triggers behind the depreciating cedi, we simply cannot overlook the significant impact of the delayed passage of the revenue measures outlined in the 2022 budget, which resulted in negative market reactions, credit rating downgrades, the narrowing of financing sources, and the eventual depreciation of the cedi. The timelines are obvious and cannot be ignored. Honorable Co-Chairs, it is time to have an honest national conversations on the patterns of expenditure as a people, our preference for imported goods, which require foreign exchange that we do not earn enough of, implies that our cedi will continue to be under pressure. It has become clear that we cannot continue in a business as usual mode. We have to significantly change our consumption patterns and support investments in local capacity for production and export. Even in these challenging times, we have not been rudderless. We have prepared the post-COVID-19 Program for Economic Growth, PCPEG, as a domestic blueprint which has benefited from social faith-based organizations, academia, industry professionals, and the leadership of Parliament. This document contains a set of time-bound structural reforms and fiscal consolidation measures to place our debt levels and fiscal accounts on a sustainable path over the medium term. and has underpinned government's engagement with the IMF. The negotiations are in progress. We are working assiduously to achieve a staff-level agreement by end of December 2022. As the President announced recently, government is aggressively pursuing initiatives to structurally boost the export orientation of this economy. In the coming 2023 budget and following consultations of key stakeholders, including AGI, labor, and the trading community, we expect to announce critical measures in this regard. This will complement that ongoing private sector-led interventions being promoted under the 1D1F and the Ghana Cares programs. However, the world had no playbook to help us tackle the COVID-19 pandemic. Parts of the Ghanaian economy were shut down, including hotels, restaurants, and events places. Our efforts were further destabilized by the disturbance in the global supply chain. But even in those times, the co-chairs, we provided electricity and water free, grants and loans to businesses in the formal and informal sectors. We also paid our workers, even when some were home for 9 months, did not lay off anyone. The country has been saved from the disruptions in supply chains, record hikes in prices of energy, food, and commodities. Every economy is facing macro fiscal challenges, rises in public debt levels, and narrowing fiscal space. Our situation was not helped by a combination of historic weaknesses in the structure of our import-dependent economy and our low capacity, even as compared to our neighbors. The 2023 budget will contain policies directly aimed at tackling these vulnerabilities. Honorable co-chairs, I am aware of the enormity of the challenges we face. I am aware that lives and livelihoods need to be protected. We have a well-consulted plan and the commitment to address this challenge. The Ministry of Finance and I have been working hard 24/7 and that can spur us back onto a sustainable economic recovery and growth, which should endure considering on the investments we have made in all sectors. Mr. Chairman, I'll be concluding soon. Co-chairs, as a child, I was taught a hymn that has guided me throughout my life. Land of our birth, we pledge to thee our love and toil in the years to be. When we are grown and take our place
is that in one
as
of
men
the Roman
and women
which Mr. Was the Methodism books? Mr. Minister.
This will be Methodism. Honorable Damboche would...
well, that's what I was wondering. I've seen him hanging around here. He is very good at those. Mr. Boche, which one is that? Methodist Hebrew.
When we are grown and take our place as men and women of our race, land of our birth, our faith, our pride, for whose dear sake our fathers died, O motherland, we pledge to thee head, heart, and hand through the years to be. Inspired by these words of this hymn, co-chairs, when I assumed the position of Minister of Finance, I resolved to serve the people of Ghana with my all. Under my tenure as Minister of Finance, I have overseen some great strides in the development of Ghana and the improvement of the lives of the Ghanaian people. As a nation, we are being tested. Our circumstances require a united and concerted response to the crisis. I employ our chiefs, elders, and church leaders to take the mantle and speak a common language. Let us all work as one country to support our labor negotiations, find a solution to the impasse in Parliament, and rise above witch hunting and entrapment. These are not ennobling and progressive for a society seeking transformation. Honorable co-chairs, Ghana is a resilient country. Ghana has faced economic challenges since independence. Ghana has always come through each of them stronger and better than before. God willing, we shall come out of these difficult times too. Ghana well and must rise again. Thank you, co-chairs. God bless our country.
Thank you very much, Honorable Finance Minister. But do I look like a witch? That's just by the way.
I was, co-chair, I was not aware that you've been. I was not aware that.
Or maybe I look like the hunter.
I was not aware that you've been hunted, naturally. So thank you very much, sir.
Sorry. Yes, go
on. Co-chair, thank you for the opportunity.
You already, sorry, wait a bit.
Yes.
Where the documents that, Mr. Minister.
Exactly.
Mr. Minister, you propose to tender some. Yes. Can we have them with the clerk? Yes, and then, oh, that's the point we're going to make. Oh, okay, that's fine. Mr. Minister.
Mr. Clerk, if you can get your people to run copies quickly, if it is possible.
Mr. Minister, are you okay? All right? Okay. Yes, we will start with a few questions, very few questions. We'll come back to questioning, but we ourselves will ask one or two, and then, okay, he says you will let me, and then we'll get the members, and then you would we'll take it from there. Not many of them. When the chief Inquisitor-in-Chief, no, I'm wrong. The chief proponent, Atta appeared before us. It took us through quite a lot of documentation. One of them being the Fiscal Responsibility Act 2018, Act 980. He was wondering if I was thinking of a certain sequence. You are capable of answering the questions any way I put them, so I deal with the one that I want to deal with later. So, Fiscal Responsibility Act. And then he suggested to us that you violated violently some of its provisions. But I've since been looking at the Act, and I think you seem to have confirmed that it could not be applicable to the year 2018. Is that right? Because you look at the Act and it looks like the President assented to it on the 28th of December 2018. Could it possibly be applicable to the year 2018 that he discussed? There's quite a lot of discussion of it on page 36 of our bound volume of the transcript. What do you say about that?
Thank you very much, Mr. Co-Chair. I think the Act was passed by Parliament and assented to by the President December 2018. And as you know, our laws do not have retrospective effect, and so yeah, truly, it shouldn't be applicable to numbers that occurred in 2018 and 2019. And then in 2020,
Honorable Minister, with all due respect, if the Act was passed in 2018, it will have prospective effect, and 2019 will become it, unless it was suspended. No, he said 2019. No, he said 2019.
I'm talking about the 2019 budget, which was read before.
2019 budget was passed in December 2018.
That's correct. Thank
Fantastic.
you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
So would it apply to both budgets, the 2018 budget, 2019 budget would be applicable?
And in 2020, okay, yeah, we came especially to the House to set it aside. So.
Yes, okay. And there's also a matter that I bring to your attention that you shouldn't really worry about. I see that Ato Forson, Honorable, suggested that as soon as you exceed the 5 percentage point by the 1 percentage point, he says the provisions of Article 82 must be triggered. I've since seen the act. It doesn't look like that's what the section says. Section 4 says votes are essential, and it says Parliament may. The directive, not the mandatory shall. So I'm not sure we should worry our heads much about that. Because I said I am missing my things, I'm not in any particular order. As a matter that I also want you to address for my comprehension. In course of your deliberation, you did state that Bank of Ghana, the Governor of Bank of Ghana, for that matter, the institution, has got quite a lot to do by way of currency and the physical state of the country. I've taken the trouble to look at Article 183. Incidentally, I think you did mention it, 183, and it would appear that the responsibility for maintaining the stability of the currency actually rests on the Governor of Bank of Ghana. Is that the case?
This is a leading question.
Mr. Co-Chair, not sure it's a leading question. I did mention it in my deliberation.
Is leading or not, we'll discuss this here. If he thinks he can overrule me, we'll deal with it over here. So don't worry about that. Yes, so what is that the case?
I mean, essentially, the Bank of Ghana, of course, as it states, shall promote and maintain the stability of the currency of Ghana and direct and regulate the currency system in the interest of the economic progress. As such, the Bank of Ghana manages our reserves, leading to interventions to contain. Mr. Co-Chair, I don't think that's an issue. The Ministry of Finance and Bank of Ghana work in close collaboration, and as they use their various tools and instruments to stabilize the cedi, we also support real sector growth as we look to encourage more exports and find means of bringing in foreign exchange such as Eurobond issuances, etc., so that we maintain. So we do share some of those responsibilities, but as per the Act, as you said, it is their
well, but that is the point, so I found it pretty curious because if I'm reading the Constitution, it's not really out of interpretation at all. It's a prose. The Bank of Ghana, its governor, shall promote and maintain the stability of the currency of the country and direct and regulate the currency, the interests of economic progress of the country. I'm wondering whether you think it might be self-serving, but if you think so, fine. If you don't think so, it's fair for the Minister of Finance rather to be called upon to really explain by way of how it's alleged that he has been reckless in doing the job which by the Constitution some other institution is supposed to be undertaking. If you have a view, it may be self-serving, but...
Mr. Co-Chair, I think that really may be part of the worrying aspect of being censured at this moment, when through a little bit of discussion you struck out grounds 1, a little bit more discussion you struck out grounds 3, and now fundamentally you are asking about the responsibility for the cedi, and to censure a finance minister for the first time in the history of this country. I think we can't make such mistakes.
I will discuss with my colleagues if it will be right for us to get the Governor of Bank of Ghana before this committee. But that's a matter that we'll think about later. I can hear you.
Mr. Chairman, I say based on his assertion, we may probably have to.
We may probably have to get the governor banker. Yeah, that's right. So, yeah.
I beg to differ.
So differ.
I beg to
Well, it's not a debate. It's a debate time hasn't started.
The governor of the Bank of Ghana has not been brought before us. So
this is for
the Minister of Finance.
This is for our subsequent discussion. So
okay,
yeah,
right. Sorry.
Colleagues, this is for our subsequent discussion. So we can't be shouting across. Let's drop it. Mr. Minister, yes, I also heard you talk about the energy sector debts, which has bedeviled this economy. Number one, would you be kind enough to tell us a little bit more about the genesis of this debt before you go into the volumes of money that we're talking about?
Mr. Co-Chair, essentially, we went into a period in which there was need for power to avert then our doomsday situation, which resulted in a number of IPPs and PPAs being agreed to with excess capacity, in a sense, more than what we needed. I'll admit that the country has now grown, and we are increasing the use of these megawatts that were installed. However, the nature of the contracts were such that they were take-or-pay contracts, which enjoined us to continue to pay for certain capacities, whether we use them or not. Whatever the circumstances are, we essentially inherited a situation where we then ended up paying maybe close to $1 billion a year of charges and power that we did not use. That then put serious strains on the economy and continues to today. Over the past 2 years, however, we have gone into very collaborative discussions with these IPPs, and I think we're on the threshold of securing agreements of 5 of them, which will save the country about $4 billion in the next coming years. So not getting into judgments as to why the issue is what we have had to pay over that period, and what fortunately we are going to be able to negotiate to save that amount of money.
You don't have to be judgmental, but for me it is fundamental to the issues under discussion. Do you say that you inherited this colossal the debt?
Mr. Chairman, it has not helped with regards to the borrowings that we have to do, or the pressure on the fiscal space as we try to meet these. And we have been able to do that through managing the revenues we have, through our borrowings, etc., and through renegotiations. Mr. Chairman, Co-Chair, I think we are all beneficiaries of a rather stable electricity environment relatively to when we came into government in 2016, and we continue to 2017, and we continue to do our utmost to keep the lights on.
Mr. Minister, can I repeat my question if I didn't drive it home well? I asked if it is the case that you inherited this colossal bill that you're talking about.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we have had to be supporting over about $1 billion, and in the last estimate from the IMF, they are thinking that this energy overhang will be about $1.4 billion a year, that is part of the issues that we are discussing with the fund as to how best to manage that. But yes, it's been quite a difficult situation managing it over these 6 years.
Did you inherit it or not?
So we did inherit. I think you've asked the question enough times for me.
I'm wondering why Mr. Minister wouldn't want to directly confront the matter. But I thought you would have answered that we can take parliamentary notice of the fact that these debts were created before you came in. But if you are not comfortable discussing
they were created before we came.
Why is it taking you more than 5 minutes? After 3 questions, you answer that. I thought it was straightforward, wasn't it? It's a diplomat, unlike you. Or maybe unlike Katie haven't. I see. Mr. Minister, I think you were sitting down and thinking, actually, Parliament does me considerable injustice. They should rather be applauding me. Is that what is on your mind?
Mr. Co-Chair, I'm not sure it's the applause so much as saddened by the weight or lack of weight of some of these questions and whether they truly, as a nation, warrant a finance minister's censure. When we go through issues of economic management, words like recklessness, incompetence, and this is the historic issue at a time in which there's global crisis, there's work to be done, the IMF negotiations are going on, there's labor discussions, there's a budget to be read, and there's difficulties in economic challenges. And so that is my worry as to where our nation state has got into. Where is a republic in all of this? And could this have been a discussion between myself and the Finance Committee or the Council of State to really show the degree of difficulty that the country is going in and the fierce urgency then to proceed to tackle it. But really to tackle it, you know, as speaking one language as a people. Because what confronts us is not easy. It requires dedication, a prayerful outlook, a commitment to go forward, and an acknowledgement of our part in it, what external circumstances has meted on us. And truly, this time and effort for such a historic indictment in which we are not quite clear about these issues. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, our colleagues would also answer, but before, 1 second, before I just wrap up, just to put a record so we all know. Yesterday at 9 o'clock in the morning, I did hear British Sky News, Kay Bailey's breakfast show in the morning, actually discussed Ghana and said that they thought Ghana was doing fantastic. Quite how it all went pear-shaped, they weren't sure, but it's all because of the genus matters we will discuss, the COVID, the whatever.
Chairman, I invoke Order 197.
Which says what?
The deliberations of a committee shall be confined to the matter referred to it by the House, and any extension or limitations to it made by the House, and in the case of a committee on a bill, to the bill referred to it and relevant amendments. It is my contention that, respectfully, we are being sent on a wild goose chase on matters that are not before us.
What am I asking you to do on that chase? What am I asking you to do on that chase? I'm making a comment.
Co-Chair, I think that, you know, because there's precious time.
Wait a minute.
We have so many questions.
Wait a minute. Yes, you have your time to ask your questions. Nobody's going to hurry anybody up.
I don't see the relevance with this Sky News and all
You
of
may
that.
not see the relevance. I'm bringing it up to the whole nation to be aware that our issues have been the concern of other countries, and they've made sure that it's become a matter of public discussion.
To our mandate and
I'm not asking him to comment. I'm not asking, Chairman, Co-Chairman, let me finish. When I finish, you make your point. I'm not asking the Honorable Minister to comment on it one way or the other. I am telling the hearing, this committee, that it's a matter that has transpired somewhere. Public information. Well, it's absolutely relevant.
No.
I'm even.
Please, Honorable Ejapa-Mensah, please. Please, Honorable Ejapa-Mensah, please respect the chair.
Well, he's been recognized.
The chair has recognized me.
Well, the MPP chair has recognized you, right? Because
you as
yes,
MPP chair
I'm the coach. I'm the co-chair. No, please. No, because you see, it's a point of important.
Yeah, so rule on my point of
right. And and I was going to say that is a germane issue that has been raised, because we have to stay within the remit of the referral by Mr. Speaker, so that well, I don't know whether that was.
But I predicated my statement by saying that other colleagues are going to make comments. Before I ran up, this is a matter that came up, and then I made the point. It wasn't for him to contribute to that. It wasn't for members.
I thought you were making the point to the minister, and that is why the honourable member came up.
Even if I did, but I did it. But actually I did it. So I don't see the basis of some objection. Can we?
Honourable Ejapa-Mensah, please, you are out of order.
Yes,
you are out of order. Okay.
My comment is made.
All right.
Who is the person?
Yes, okay. I thought I would give the members the opportunity to ask their questions, but from the interaction.
Why did you say NDC chairman? Are you MPP chairman? So this is now dichotomized. As MPP chairman, NDC chairman. That is
Honorable Katie, you please, I said it in jest. So can we? Let's take it. Let's take it in that context. Okay.
You pasted your colors to the proceedings. Let's go on.
Okay. Honorable Minister, good morning again. The interaction between yourself and the Honorable Katie Hammond, my co-chair, with respect to Article 183 of the Constitution, in terms of the constitutional mandate of the Bank of Ghana, would seem to suggest that the issue of currency depreciation, the management of the stability of the national currency should be laid, at the doorsteps of the Bank of Ghana rather than the Ministry of Finance. Is that my understanding?
Mr. Co-Chair, I think your understanding is your understanding.
Well, okay, is my understanding correct?
I think we read the Act.
Well, portions of it. You read portions of it.
Yeah. So
but
I think you can interpret it. But what I mentioned specifically is that we work very, very closely together to make sure that we bring stability.
Right.
So that really should be the top line message that you take. As to what my oath is as Minister of Finance and what his responsibilities are, that really is not the subject. The issue for me as a Minister of Finance is the impact that the currency is having, of which I'm very, very concerned about, and doing everything I can to support any way to bring in resources, as we did with the Ofori Exim Bank, to support that. As I mentioned, looking at investment in the rail sector to push that ahead. I don't think this is a time in the country of crisis where we sort of kick the ball to somebody else. With all the energies that we have, the resources we have, we team up, circle the wagons, and move on. And we've been doing that very well, very comfortable with that relationship.
So you would agree with me that there is a strong symbiotic relationship between fiscal and monetary policy, won't you?
It cannot be that there won't be. There has to be. I mean, I don't know what the line of questioning is leading to. Of course, I feel responsible.
Well, you would know in due course. Yes. So if you were to exceed your borrowing limits, in a manner that violates the Fiscal Responsibility Act. Don't you think that that should result in a vote of censure of the kind that we are looking at today?
Mr. Chairman, it was your choice to sign up to a censure which brought a conflict of interest issue on this. It was your choice to sign up to a censure on accounts at GMPC, which had nothing to do with me. It is your choice when you look at the gravity of where the nation is and whether you feel strongly, as you have indicated, that the finance minister should be censured for these original 7 grounds.
Very well. Honorable Minister, do you remember that on June 4th, 2021, you did come to Parliament to provide answers with respect to the energy sector payments to IPPs on the take-or-pay contracts? The question was specifically filed by the Honorable Alassane Suhini, MP for Tamale North. You remember that?
No, I have to. But June 4th is a date we all remember. I don't
Yes.
know, I don't know specifically.
Not for the revolutionary upheaval that took place on that day. I'm talking about your answer to Parliament on this matter.
I'll have to be educated.
Okay, so the Hansard of that day captured you. You gave an answer that said that the payments totaled 937 million. Is that what translates into the 17 billion that you have just told this committee is the amount that you paid?
This is June
4th, 2021.
Okay. And this, we are June.
We are in November
now,
now,
November
Minister,
20.
Honorable Minister.
We are now in November 2022.
Very well.
Yeah. So I'll have to recalculate those numbers to bring to you.
Yes, but you were specific in your answer. You said you made 17 billion cedis. I think I heard cedis.
Mm-hmm. So what you're talking about is...
Yes. No, I just want him to confirm if that is the figure that translates into 17 billion. Is that very difficult to do?
No, I can't confirm offhand, but I certainly will bring you the arithmetic of it.
Which one? You also said a lot about take-or-pay contracts that were signed during the Mahama administration, which resulted in the so-called energy sector debts. If you were an investor coming into an economy of this nature, would you build a power plant without a take-or-pay clause that mandates that if you don't take the power, you pay?
Mr. Chairman, is your co-chair seeking an opinion from the minister?
No, I'm not.
Because this is a rhetorical question, and you're seeking an opinion.
I'm laying the basis for.
If he were an investor.
Can I rephrase the question? Can I rephrase?
I think the honourable minister is capable of dealing with this matter. So let him. Let him. Minister, could you kindly just put the question again?
Mr. Co-Chair, you know, honestly, we are in a crisis. I've been brought here for some very disparaging descriptions of who I am and my character and the management of this economy. I'm not here to speculate of what investors may think or not think at a certain point in time. As an investor, at any point in time, you try to take advantage of weaknesses, and depending on the strength of who is beside you, or across from you on the table, you take your pound of flesh. Now, we have gone into some of these contracts and truly are recalibrating what they are. So I can't want to be part of a whitewashing of events that did not help us, and is part of the issue why I'm being censured.
Thank you. Has your government or the government of which you are a minister signed any energy sector contracts that contain take-or-pay clauses?
I'll have to really confirm on that.
96.1.
And you agree with me that take-or-pay clauses are essential in energy contracts?
There's also a reason why there's take and pay.
Right.
There are reasons why there are other methods of doing that, and that comes with the ability to negotiate. For example, in 2015 or so, the then government, did a $1 billion Eurobond issuance at 10.75%. But that even required a World Bank wraparound. We have subsequently done much more with lower rates. So, I think it's an issue of maybe competence or an understanding of how to negotiate. I think we'll be chasing our tail if we go along this line.
Okay. I will give members the opportunity to take their turn, and then I will come back. So, Honorable Samuel Kujeto Ablakwa, Honorable Minister, will deal with the grounds separately. So, there will be a round of questions relating to ground 2 on the National Cathedral, and when all members have taken their turn, we'll now come to ground 4, 5, and in that order.
That's strictly speaking the approach. No, wait a minute. Wait.
Okoli, 96.1 FM.
Yes, okay. Yes, it's your turn. Go.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I will come to the National Cathedral in a minute. The Honorable Finance Minister has raised some issues with language which he appears uncomfortable with. I want to place on record that same day, on the 10th of November 1999, I have the Hansard here, of Wednesday, 10th November 1999. Then Dr. Kunedu Apreku, Nana Akufo-Addo, J.H. Mensah, and others filed a motion against your predecessor, Finance Minister Kwame Pepra. And if you look at column 977, they use similar words. Quote, the NDC government and Minister of Finance in particular had demonstrated absolute incompetence. They didn't say only incompetence. Absolute incompetence and gross negligence in ignoring sound and credible advice, unquote. If you come to column 983 of the same Hansard, they said, quote, anywhere else, such mismanagement is enough for people to stand back and say, we have done our part. We have come to the end of the road. We have gone full cycle. We took the reins of this country when we thought there was a crisis. We have come all the way and put it back in a crisis. This is the time to leave. And if the president cannot leave because of a constitutional mandate, we want the minister to begin the process of leaving now, and we'll continue in the year 2000, unquote.
Sorry, what is that point supposed to be clarified?
The finance minister is raising issue with the language of the motion, and I want him to understand that it's consistent with the practice in this house.
How can it be consistent? So that was raised at the time.
This is 1999.
1999. Nothing was wrong with that.
10th November 1999.
Say whatever there is. That's the point.
The minister himself, on the 12th of March 2013, he's on record at the William Ofori Atta Institute for Integrity Lectures to have actually called for a coup. Nothing can be more stronger than that. So I don't think we'll be taking lectures on language from the minister.
What did he say exactly? Let's hear what he said, please.
He said, March 12, 2013, the country's silence on the election petition could trigger a coup, unquote. He was speaking at the William Ofori Atta Institute for Integrity Lectures. So it's available online. It was reported by Ghana Web.
No.
It's a preliminary. It's a preliminary comment on language. He appears to want to lecture us on language, I thought that we should place these matters in proper perspective.
Turn it off for the time. Yeah. No, he would do his point of order, but this is so fundamental a statement that I think until we're able to verify the fact that it was actually spoken, we would not admit it in the evidence. So we'd want it expunged for the time being. If we're able to get the can we have a look?
Mr. Chairman, this is not the time to be looking at information on phones. So if you can print it out to members.
No, you can't. Well, just bear with us. No, let's do it. There's something about Imani Ghana. What you shown me is about Imani Ghana I'm talking about. And then retired captain. Listen, I think we should expunge this from Mr. Co-Chairman. Let's expunge this. We can discuss this later, and let's get on. Well, I've read something. It doesn't correspond to what exactly you said.
Okay, so yes, we will examine it, subsequently, and determine whether or not it goes into our records.
For now, it's expunged. It's expunged from the record.
Hansard office maintain it until we have examined it.
Can we?
Yeah, I mean, these are matters of public record. So,
we'll come to you in a minute. We haven't come to you yet. The chair is confirmed.
Okoli, 96.1 FM.
Carly FM 96.1. Carly FM 96.1. Carly FM 96.1.
I still maintain that because of the nature of the statement, let's expunge it for the time being, and then if we get the printout and we verify we're happy with it, we would know what to do. Yeah.
Okay.
So go.
Hansard office, take note.
Well, thank you very much.
I think the Honorable Yimedu was raising a point of order. What order are you coming
I'm
under?
only pleading with you, the co-chairs, that the whole Ghana is looking at us.
Yes.
And therefore, I entreat you that some comments should not be entertained at all. This statement that Honorable...
But are you revisiting the statement to the hearing of the whole world?
Well, it's been expunged, so let's go on.
Okay.
But I'm saying it for this to guide us, because you make a statement that a statement has been made in the Hansard. This statement was not made by the Honorable Minister. So how do you use it against him?
Very well.
Immediately...
The point is well noted, Honorable
Thank
Ayimede.
you.
Yes.